The massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers slide open with a deep hum that echoes through the circular hall. Representatives from 100 different worlds sit in their designated seats, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes under the soft blue lighting. Some have multiple arms, others float in specialized gravity fields, and a few exist as pure energy contained within crystal housings. But today, all of them are completely silent. The silence isn't comfortable. It's the kind of quiet that happens when something impossible appears on your doorstep. Every single being in that room is staring at the massive holographic display floating above the center of the chamber. The display shows readings that shouldn't exist, numbers that don't make sense, and energy signatures that were supposed to be gone forever. Human vessel detected announces the artificial intelligence that runs the Council's systems. Its voice is calm and emotionless, but even it seems to pause before continuing. Classification: Experimental Deep Space Exploration Ship. Designation: Eternal Dawn. Status: Presumed lost 11 years, 4 months, and 16 days ago.
Wow.
The words hang in the air like a physical presence. Some council members lean forward in their seats. Others make nervous clicking sounds with their mandibles, or flash warning colors across their skin. A few of the more elderly representatives remember the day that ship disappeared and the memorial service that followed. Admiral Vexstar, the Council's military advisor, rises from his seat. His blue-scaled form towers over the others as he points at the display with one of his 4 arms. This is impossible. The Eternal Dawn was lost beyond the galactic rim. Nothing comes back from that region of space. Nothing. He's right, and everyone knows it. The galactic rim is where known space ends and the great emptiness begins. It's a place where stars grow thin and space itself becomes unstable. Venture too far past that invisible boundary, simply vanish, consumed by forces that even the most advanced civilizations don't understand. But the readings on the display are clear. The ship that's approaching isn't just any human vessel. It's specifically the Eternal Dawn, with its unique energy signature and experimental drive systems. The same ship that Captain Lee Hanna took beyond the rim 11 years ago, along with her hand-picked crew. The council members remember Captain Lee Hanna well. She was young for a human, barely in her 30s. But she carried herself with the quiet confidence that marked all the best explorers. Her dark hair was always pulled back in a practical style, and her eyes held the kind of determination that made even alien species take notice. Commander Park Jin-ho had been her second in command, a tall man with steady hands and the kind of calm voice that kept crews focused during emergencies. Chief Engineer Kim Mina was smaller than the others but possessed an almost supernatural ability to understand any piece of technology she encountered. Dr. Choi Dae-ho had been their science officer, a brilliant researcher who could spot patterns in data that others missed completely. Navigator Yoon Seo-jin rounded out the core crew, a woman whose understanding of space-time mathematics bordered on the artistic. They had been humanity's best and brightest. Volunteers for a mission that everyone knew was probably a one-way trip. Strange reports had been coming in from the Rim territories for months. Entire star systems were simply vanishing, not destroyed, but erased as if they had never existed at all. The Eternal Dawn was equipped with experimental sensors and engines specifically designed to investigate these disappearances. Now, as the Council watches their sensors, they can see the ship decelerating from speeds that should be impossible. It's moving faster than anything in the known galaxy, using technology that doesn't appear in any database. The ship's hull seems to shimmer and shift, reflecting light in ways that hurt to look at directly. Energy readings are off the charts, reports the Council's chief scientist, her tentacles writhing nervously as she studies the data. The ship is generating power levels that exceed our theoretical maximums. And the whole material. It's not registering as any known substance. Silence in the chamber grows even deeper. These are beings from civilizations that have mastered faster than light travel, energy manipulation, and genetic engineering.
Ow.
They've seen wonders that would drive most species mad with awe. Ow. But the readings coming from the Eternal Dawn are beyond anything in their experience. As they watch, the ship continues its approach toward the core worlds. Its impossible engines leaving trails of light that seem to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Whatever happened to the humans during their 11 years in the void? They're coming home changed. The heavy blast doors of the Council's most secure chamber seal shut with a finality that makes everyone inside feel trapped. This room exists 3 levels below the main council hall, surrounded by shields that can block even telepathic scanning. Only 12 beings in the entire galaxy have clearance to enter this space, and today all of them are present. The air itself feels different. Here, thick with the weight of secrets that could shatter civilizations. Emergency lighting casts long shadows across the curved walls, and the usual hum of the station's systems seems muted, as if even the machines are holding their breath. Captain Lee Hannah stands at the center of the room, but she's not the same. A woman who left 11 years ago, her human form is still recognizable, but there's something fundamentally changed about her. Her skin has a subtle shimmer, like starlight caught in still water. Her eyes, once brown, now hold depths that seem to contain entire galaxies. When she moves, it's with a fluid grace that suggests she's not entirely bound by the same physical laws as everyone else. What I'm about to tell you, Hannah begins. Her voice carrying strange harmonics that make the air vibrate will change how you understand reality itself. Beyond the galactic rim, in the spaces between what we call the known universe, there exists something that should not be. She pauses, and in that moment of silence, every being in the room feels a chill that has nothing to do with temperature. It's the kind of cold that comes from staring into an abyss and realizing it's staring back. We call them the Devours, Hannah continues, and when she speaks that name, the lights in the room seem to flicker slightly. They are not like any enemy you've ever faced. They don't destroy planets or conquer star systems. They do something far worse. They erase the very concept that something ever existed at all. Admiral Vextar, his blue scales rippling with anxiety, leans forward. Explain what you mean by erase the concept, Captain. Hannah's expression grows grave. Imagine a star system with billions of inhabitants, complex ecosystems, and thousands of years of history. Now imagine that system doesn't just die or get destroyed. Instead, it becomes something that never was. The space where it existed becomes empty, but more than empty. It becomes a place where existence itself has been consumed. She gestures, and holographic images fill the room. The council members see star charts with vast empty regions, but these aren't the normal emptiness of space. These are wounds in reality itself, places where the very fabric of existence has been torn away. In 11 years beyond the rim, Hannah explains, we discovered that entire galaxies have been consumed this way. Billions of civilizations, trillions of beings, all erased, not just from existence, but from the possibility of existence. Dr. Choi Daeho steps forward from the shadows, and several council members actually recoil. The man who had been their science officer is barely recognizable as human. His form seems to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, his edges blurring and shifting as if he's not entirely present in their reality. The Eternal Dawn survived 11 years in that hostile realm, Daeho says, his voice echoing from directions that don't exist. By adapting, evolving, and learning to fight beings that exist partially outside conventional physics, we didn't just observe the enemy. We became something new in order to combat it. His words carry implications that terrify the assembled delegates. They're looking at beings who were once human but have transformed themselves into something beyond their understanding in order to fight an enemy that exists beyond comprehension. The Devourers aren't just powerful, Hannah continues. They're antithetical to existence itself. They move through dimensions we can't perceive, attack concepts we can't understand, and their very presence begins to unravel the foundations of reality. The room falls silent, except for the sound of various species equivalent of nervous breathing. These are beings who have seen the rise and fall of civilizations, who have witnessed the birth and death of stars, but what they're hearing now is beyond their worst nightmares. How do you fight something like that? Asks Counselor Zephora, her crystalline form pulsing with anxious energy. Hannah's transformed eyes meet hers directly, by becoming something they can't erase. by evolving beyond their ability to unmake. By choosing to sacrifice what we were to become, what the universe needed us to be, the implications hang in the air like a physical weight. These humans didn't just survive the impossible, they became impossible themselves. The massive cargo bay doors of the Eternal Dawn slide open with a sound that shouldn't exist. It's not the usual mechanical grinding of metal against metal, something that seems to whisper directly into the minds of everyone watching. The assembled scientists and military officials from across the galaxy stand at what they believe is a safe distance. Their various forms of recording equipment ready to document whatever impossible technology the humans have brought back. What they see defies every law of physics they understand. The cargo bay appears to be larger inside than outside, its walls seeming to stretch into dimensions that hurt to look at directly. Strange geometries twist and fold in on themselves, creating spaces that exist in multiple realities simultaneously. The air itself shimmers with energy patterns that make seasoned physicists question their sanity. Chief Engineer Kim Mina steps forward, and the assembled crowd takes an involuntary step back. Like her captain, she's been transformed by her years beyond the rim. Her hands now glow with a soft blue light, and when she moves, reality seems to bend slightly around her. Her eyes hold the same otherworldly depth as Hannah's. But there's something else there too. A mechanical precision that suggests she's become part of the technology she once merely operated. Before we left, Mina begins, her voice carrying harmonics that resonate through dimensions the observers can't perceive. Our weapons fired bullets and energy beams. Our shields deflected physical attacks. Our engines pushed us through space using conventional thrust. She pauses, a slight smile playing at her lips. Those concepts seem quaint now. She approaches what looks like a weapon, but it's unlike anything in the galactic databases. It doesn't have a barrel or trigger in any traditional sense. Instead, it appears to be a crystalline construct that exists in a state of constant flux, its form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. This doesn't fire projectiles, Mina explains, lifting the weapon with ease, despite its apparent massive size. It fires concentrated possibility. When activated, it doesn't destroy a target. It convinces reality that the target chose not to exist in that moment. To demonstrate, she aims at a piece of debris floating in the bay. The weapon doesn't make a sound, doesn't produce any visible beam or flash. The debris simply isn't there anymore. Not vaporized, not destroyed, but absent as if it had never existed at all. The assembled scientists murmur in languages from across the galaxy, their excitement mixed with deep unease. This isn't just advanced technology. This is technology that operates on principles that shouldn't be possible. Commander Park Jin-ho moves to the next display. His transformed appearance even more unsettling than Mina's. His form seems to exist in multiple states simultaneously, solid in some moments, translucent in others. When he speaks, his voice comes from several directions at once. Our defensive systems have evolved beyond simple energy shields, he explains, gesturing to what appears to be empty space. Suddenly, a barrier materializes, but it's not a single wall. It's a shield that exists in quantum superposition, simultaneously blocking attacks from multiple dimensions while allowing friendly forces to pass through unimpeded. The shield doesn't just stop attacks, Ginho continues. It exists in all possible states until an attack forces it to choose the most effective defensive configuration. It's not just protection. It's protection that adapts to threats before they fully materialize. He demonstrates by firing a conventional energy weapon at the shield. The barrier shifts, becoming exactly the right type of defense needed to stop that specific attack. Then he fires a projectile weapon, and the shield instantly reconfigures itself to stop physical matter while remaining transparent to energy. The most disturbing demonstration comes when Jinho shows how the crew can now communicate across vast distances through quantum entanglement. He speaks to someone who isn't there, carrying on a conversation with a crew member who is supposedly on the other side of the galaxy. The responses come not through any visible communication device, but directly into the minds of everyone present? We don't use radios or subspace transmissions anymore, Jinho explains. Our consciousness exists in quantum entanglement with each other. Distance becomes irrelevant when your thoughts can exist in multiple locations simultaneously. The most shocking demonstration comes when he begins predicting the movements of the observers before they make them. He turns to face a scientist who hasn't yet decided to step forward, warns a military officer about a stumble that hasn't happened yet, and answers questions before they're asked. Time isn't linear when you exist partially outside conventional physics, he explains to the terrified crowd. We can perceive probability streams, see the most likely outcomes of events before they occur. It's not prophecy, it's mathematics applied to existence itself. Navigator Unco Jin approaches the final display, her form the most dramatically changed of all. She appears to be made of starlight held together by will alone, her voice carrying the weight of 11 years spent navigating impossible realms. Our engines no longer push through space, she explains, her words resonating with cosmic harmonics. They convince space to move around us. We don't travel to distant locations, persuade the universe that we're already there. She activates a demonstration unit, and suddenly, the entire cargo bay seems to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. The observers can see familiar star systems through the walls, as if the ship is present in dozens of places at once. Evolution isn't just biological, Seojin continues, her starlight form pulsing with energy. It's a choice. Now we chose to become what the galaxy needed us to be. The implications are staggering. These humans haven't just developed new technology, they've become technology, merged with forces beyond understanding to become something that can fight enemies that exist outside reality itself. The first warning comes from monitoring. Station Alpha 7, a remote outpost stationed at the edge of the galaxy's spiral arm. The duty officer, a young Zolonian named Crix, is reviewing routine stellar observations when something on his display makes him freeze. The reading is so impossible that he runs the scan 3 more times, each result the same: Central Command. Crix's voice trembles as he activates the emergency channel. We have a problem. The Kepler 447 system is... it's not there anymore. The response comes quickly. Clarify your report, Alpha 7. Are you detecting debris from a stellar collapse? Crix stares at his instruments, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, as he tries to process what he's seeing. Negative, Central Command. There's no debris. There's no radiation signature. There's no gravitational anomaly. The system isn't destroyed. It's like it never existed at all. Within hours, similar reports flood in from monitoring stations across the galaxy. The Rigel sector reports 3 star systems simply absent from their usual coordinates. The Andromeda Relay can't locate an entire cluster of civilizations that were thriving just days before. The Outer Rim territories discover that whole sections of their star charts no longer make sense because the reference points have vanished. But these aren't the explosions or collapses that mark the natural death of stars. These are erasures, clean, surgical removals of entire regions of space from the fabric of reality itself, where bustling star systems once existed. There's now nothing but empty void that somehow feels more empty than normal space. At the Galactic Council headquarters, emergency sessions run around the clock. Representatives from hundreds of species gather in the main chamber, their various forms of communication creating a chaotic symphony of clicks, whistles, telepathic pulses, and spoken words. The massive holographic display above the center of the room shows the galaxy with growing red zones, marking regions that no longer exist. Dr. Choi. Daeho stands before the assembled delegates, his transformed appearance more unsettling than ever. His form flickers between dimensions, existing in multiple states simultaneously as he explains what's happening. The pattern is becoming clear, he says, his voice echoing from directions that don't exist. The Devours aren't approaching our galaxy, they're already here. What you're seeing isn't the beginning of an invasion, it's the middle of a systematic erasure that started months ago. Admiral Vexstar, his blue scales rippling with anxiety, points at the display. Is that possible? Our long-range sensors would have detected any approaching threat. Daeho's multidimensional form shifts, and when he speaks, his words carry the weight of terrible knowledge. The Devourers don't approach through normal space. They seep through the cracks in reality itself, entering our dimension through pathways that our instruments can't detect. By the time we notice their presence, they've already begun their work. Panic spreads through the chamber like wildfire. Representatives from species that have never shown fear begin displaying signs of terror. The crystalline collective, beings of pure energy, flicker rapidly between colors. The Hivemind Dominion spokesperson starts speaking in multiple voices. At once, their collective consciousness struggling to process the implications. "Our fleets," demands General Dixron, his insectoid form clicking with agitation. "We have the most advanced military forces in galactic history. Surely, we can mount a defense." But Dr. Choi Dehos's expression grows even more grave. "General, your weapons fire, energy, and matter. Your shields deflect physical attacks. Your strategies are based on conventional warfare. How do you fight an enemy that attacks the concept of existence itself?" The question hangs in the air like a physical weight. These are civilizations that have conquered faster than light travel, mastered genetic engineering, and built weapons that can shatter planets. But none of their technology was designed to combat enemies that exist outside the fundamental laws of physics. Captain Lee Hanna steps forward, her transformed appearance causing several delegates to recoil. Her eyes, now holding galaxies within, their depths scan the assembled crowd with something approaching pity. "The wrongness you're beginning to feel," she says, her voice carrying harmonics that resonate through dimensions. "That growing sense that reality itself is becoming unstable, that's not your imagination. The Devourers have been systematically weakening the foundations of existence in this galaxy for months." She gestures to the holographic display, and suddenly, the red zones begin pulsing with an ominous light. They don't just erase star systems randomly, they target the structural supports of reality itself. Each erasure weakens the dimensional barriers that keep our universe stable. Navigator Yoon Seojin, her starlight form flickering with cosmic energy, adds her own terrible insight. The systems they've chosen to erase aren't random. They're load-bearing pillars of space-time. Remove enough of them, and the entire galaxy will collapse into dimensional chaos. The implications are staggering. The assembled delegates realize they're not just facing an enemy that can destroy their worlds. They're facing an enemy that can unmake the very concept of their existence. "They're not just coming," Hannah warns the council, her transformed voice carrying the weight of 11 years beyond known space. "They're already here. Reality is being rewritten around us, and most of you can't even see it happening." As if to emphasize her point, the lights in the chamber flicker, and for just a moment, several delegates seem to fade slightly, as if their existence is becoming uncertain. The Devourer's influence is spreading, and time is running out. The vote comes down to a single delegate. For 3 days, the Galactic Council has debated whether to accept the humans' offer of alliance. The chamber echoes with arguments in dozens of languages. Species voicing their fears about working with beings who have transformed themselves beyond recognition. "They're not human anymore," argues Counselor Zephora, her crystalline form pulsing with nervous energy. "How can we trust creatures who willingly became something else entirely?" Admiral Vexstar's blue scales ripple as he responds. "Because those creatures are the only ones who know how to fight what's coming? Look at the star charts. We've lost 12 more systems since yesterday. At this rate, we'll all be erased within months." The final vote is close, but desperation wins over fear. The alliance is approved by the narrowest margin in Council history. Within hours, Captain Lee Hanna and her transformed crew begin the most ambitious training program the galaxy has ever seen. The first training facility opens on Kepler Prime, a world chosen for its stable dimensional properties. The massive complex stretches across an entire continent, its buildings constructed using principles that hurt to look at directly. The architecture seems to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, with corridors that lead to rooms that shouldn't fit within the building's external structure. Commander Park Jin-ho, stands before the first group of volunteers. His form shifting between solid matter and translucent energy. The assembled beings represent dozens of species, all elite warriors and tactical specialists who have volunteered for training despite not fully understanding what they're signing up for. Everything you know about combat is wrong, Jinho begins, his voice coming from multiple directions at once. Your weapons fire projectiles through three-dimensional space. Your tactics assume enemies that exist in the same reality as you. Your courage is based on facing threats you can see and understand. He gestures, and the training room around them begins to change. The walls fade away, replaced by a twisted landscape that exists in dimensions the volunteers can barely perceive. Strange geometries stretch into impossible distances, and the very air seems to pulse with malevolent energy. This is what the battlefield looks like when you fight the Devours, Jinho explains. Reality becomes fluid. Physics becomes optional. Your enemy exists partially outside the universe itself. The first exercise is simple in concept, but devastating in execution. The volunteers must learn to perceive attacks that come from directions that don't exist. Many of them collapse within minutes, their minds unable to process information that violates everything they understand about reality. A young Zilonian warrior named Keth manages to last longer than most, but even he falls to his knees as his perception expands beyond his ability to handle. "I can see them," he gasps, his 4 eyes streaming with tears. "They're everywhere, but they're not there. How is that possible?" "Because existence isn't binary," Ginho responds, helping the warrior to his feet. "Things don't just exist or not exist. There are states of being that exist between reality and void, and that's where the Devourers live." Meanwhile, across the immense galaxy, Chief Engineer Kim Mina works with teams of scientists and engineers to develop new weapons and defenses. Her teaching methods are equally challenging, requiring students to think beyond conventional physics and engineering principles. In a workshop on the industrial world of Forge Station, Mina demonstrates how to build weapons that exist in quantum superposition. The device she's constructing appears to be a simple energy rifle, but as she works, it begins to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Traditional weapons fire energy or matter in straight lines through normal space, she explains to the assembled engineers. This weapon fires probability itself, targeting not where the enemy is, but where the enemy might be across all possible realities. The construction process is exhausting. The engineers must learn to work with materials that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, using tools that operate on principles that challenge their understanding of reality itself. Several of them suffer mental breakdowns as their perception expands beyond what their species can naturally handle. Dr. Choi Daeho's training programs are perhaps the most dangerous of all, working with the galaxy's most brilliant scientists. He teaches them to expand their perception beyond conventional reality. The process is necessary for understanding the Devourer's true nature, but it comes with terrible risks. In a laboratory deep beneath the surface of the academic world New Cambridge, Daeho works with a team of theoretical physicists from across the galaxy. His multi-dimensional form flickers as he explains concepts that exist beyond normal language. The Devourers don't just erase matter and energy, he tells them. They erase the mathematical concepts that allow matter and energy to exist. To fight them, you must learn to perceive mathematics itself as a physical force. The training requires the scientists to expand their consciousness into dimensions that their species were never meant to experience. Some of them succeed, their minds opening to mathematical realities that exist beyond normal space-time. Others are lost, their consciousness scattered across dimensions they can't navigate. Dr. Yila, a brilliant Arcturian physicist, makes the breakthrough that changes everything. As her perception expands, she suddenly understands how the Devourers operate on a fundamental level. "They're not destroying reality," she gasps, her enlarged consciousness struggling to communicate through her physical form. "They're solving it. They're treating existence as an equation and finding ways to make the answer equal zero." The realization spreads through the scientific community like wildfire. The Devourers aren't chaotic destroyers. They're cosmic mathematicians who have decided that existence itself is a problem to be solved through elimination, but understanding comes at a price. The volunteers who succeed in their training are forever changed, their forms and minds adapted to perceive and fight in dimensions that normal beings can't even imagine. They become something between what they were and what the humans have become. Guardians capable of standing against the erasure of existence itself. As the training program spread across the galaxy, a new form of defender emerges, beings evolved specifically to combat the Devours and protect the fundamental nature of reality. The alarm that echoes through the Galactic Defense Network isn't like any sound the galaxy has heard before. It's not a mechanical screech or electronic beep, but something that resonates directly through the fabric of reality itself. Every being with the enhanced perception gained from the training programs feels it like a physical blow to their consciousness. System is under full assault, reports Lieutenant Keth, his 4 eyes now capable of seeing across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Devours aren't just erasing individual planets this time. They're trying to unmake the entire star system. At once, the Sigma-7 system is home to over 14 billion beings across 7 worlds. A thriving collection of civilizations that have existed for thousands of years. It's also a crucial junction point in the galaxy's dimensional structure. One of the load-bearing pillars that keep reality stable in this region of space, Captain Lehanna stands on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn. Her transformed form, now more energy than matter. Her consciousness extends across multiple realities simultaneously, allowing her to perceive the battle on levels that normal beings can't imagine. Round her, the bridge crew works with technology that exists in quantum superposition. There. Instruments displaying information from dimensions that don't technically exist. Fleet status report, Hannah commands, her voice carrying harmonics that resonate through space-time itself. 47 vessels ready for dimensional combat, responds. Navigation Officer Yoon Seojin, her starlight form flickering with cosmic energy. All crews have completed enhanced perception training. We have volunteers from 32 different species, all transformed for multidimensional warfare. The fleet that assembles around the Eternal Dawn is unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. The ships themselves have been modified using technology that defies conventional physics, their hulls existing in multiple states simultaneously. Some vessels appear solid in normal space, but translucent in others. Others seem to flicker between realities, present in some dimensions while absent in others. The crews are equally transformed. The Zolonian warriors who survived the training now possess perception that extends beyond normal space-time. The Arcturian scientists have expanded their consciousness to perceive mathematical realities as physical forces. The crystalline collective members exist as pure energy that can interface directly with the impossible weapons systems. As the fleet approaches the Sigma-7 system, the true scope of the Devours' assault becomes clear. The enemy isn't attacking through normal space, but through the gaps between realities. Their assault coming from dimensions that exist outside conventional physics. Visual contact with the enemy, reports Commander Park Jin-ho, his multidimensional form allowing him to perceive threats that exist partially outside normal space. They're not ships or creatures in any sense we understand. They're more like mathematical concepts given hostile intent. The Devours appear as twisted geometries that hurt to look at directly, shapes that exist in too many dimensions simultaneously. They move through space by convincing reality that they're already where they want to be. Their attacks coming not through energy, beams or projectiles, but through the systematic erasure of the mathematical concepts that allow their targets to exist. They're targeting the dimensional anchor points, Dr. Choi Dae-ho reports. His consciousness existing across multiple realities simultaneously. If they succeed in erasing those specific coordinates, the entire system will collapse into dimensional chaos. The battle begins not with explosions or energy beams, but with reality itself becoming unstable. The laws of physics start to break down as the Devourers attack the fundamental concepts that keep the universe functioning normally. Space begins to twist into impossible shapes. Time flows in multiple directions simultaneously, and the very concept of existence becomes uncertain. Chief Engineer Kim Mina coordinates the fleet's impossible weapons systems. her consciousness. Now merged with the technology itself, firing probability cannons, she announces, her voice carrying across dimensions. Target, the mathematical foundations of enemy existence. The weapons don't fire projectiles or energy beams. Instead, they fire concentrated possibility. Targeting not where the Devourers are, but where they might be, across all potential realities. The attacks strike the enemy's mathematical basis for existence, forcing them to choose specific states of being that make them vulnerable to conventional assault. Park Jin-ho leads the assault teams in combat that takes place across multiple dimensions simultaneously. His evolved form allows him to fight enemies that exist partially outside normal space. His attacks targeting the conceptual foundations of the Devourer's existence. They're trying to solve the equation of our reality, he reports, during a brief lull in the fighting. Every attack is an attempt to make the mathematical answer equal 0. The battle rages for hours that feel like eternities, with time itself becoming fluid under the strain of multi-dimensional combat. The defenders don't try to destroy the Devourers through superior firepower. Instead, they anchor reality itself against the enemy's attempts to unmake it. Captain Hannah coordinates the defense from multiple realities simultaneously, her consciousness expanded to perceive probability streams across all possible outcomes. She doesn't just command the fleet. She helps hold the mathematical foundations of existence stable while her crews fight to protect the fundamental nature of reality. We're not winning through force, she realizes during the climactic moments of the battle. We're winning by refusing to let them erase us. Every time they try to unmake our existence, we choose to exist anyway. The turning point comes when the combined fleet manages to create a stable anchor point in reality itself, a mathematical certainty that the Devourers cannot erase. With this foundation secure, the defenders can launch counterattacks that target the enemy's own conceptual existence. The battle ends not with explosions or surrender, but with the Devourers simply becoming absent, a mathematical basis for existence overwhelmed by the defenders' refusal to be erased. The Sigma-7 system remains intact, its billions of inhabitants never knowing how close they came to never having existed at all, as the fleet regroups around the Eternal Dawn. The transformed defenders realize they've won their first major victory against an enemy that attacks existence itself. They've proven that with enough evolution and determination. Even the erasure of reality can be fought and defeated. The first warning comes as reality itself begins to scream. Across the galaxy, every being with enhanced perception feels it like a knife cutting through their consciousness. The dimensional monitoring stations detect something that shouldn't be possible. The Devourers are launching their largest assault yet, targeting not just a single planet or star system, but an entire populated region of space. The target is the Andromeda Junction, a massive star cluster containing 47 inhabited worlds and over 60 billion lives. One of the major dimensional anchor points that keeps this entire arm of the galaxy stable. If the Devourers succeed in erasing it, the ripple effects will destabilize reality across thousands of light years. Captain Lee Hannah stands on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, her transformed form now existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Her consciousness extends across realities, allowing her to perceive the approaching threat on levels that would drive normal beings insane. Around her, the bridge hums with impossible technology, instruments that display information from dimensions that exist between reality and void. Fleet status, she commands, her voice carrying harmonics that resonate through space-time itself. 63 vessels ready for dimensional combat, responds Navigator Yoon Seo-jin, her starlight form flickering with cosmic energy. All crews have completed transformation protocols. With volunteers from 41 different species, all evolve for multi-dimensional warfare. The fleet that assembles around the Eternal Dawn represents the galaxy's desperate gamble. Each ship has been modified using technology that defies every known law of physics. The hulls exist in quantum superposition, simultaneously solid and translucent, present in some dimensions, while absent in others. The crews are equally transformed. Beings who have sacrificed their original forms too. becomes something capable of fighting enemies that exist outside reality itself. Lieutenant Keth, once a simple Zolonian warrior, now commands a squadron of fighters that exist in multiple realities simultaneously. His four eyes can perceive attacks coming from directions that don't exist, and his weapons fire concentrated possibility rather than energy or matter. Contact with the enemy, he reports, his voice carrying the weight of expanded consciousness. They're not approaching through normal space. They're seeping through the cracks in reality itself, entering our dimension through pathways that shouldn't exist. The Devourers appear as twisted geometries that hurt to look at directly, mathematical concepts given hostile intent. They don't move through space in any conventional sense. Instead, they convince reality that they're already where they want to be. Their very presence causing the laws of physics to break down. Commander Park Jin-ho leads the first wave of assault. Teams, his evolved form, allowing him to fight enemies that exist partially outside normal space. His body flickers between dimensions as he coordinates attacks across multiple realities simultaneously. They're targeting the dimensional anchor points, he reports during the approach. Every assault is designed to erase the mathematical foundations that keep this region of space stable. The battle begins not with explosions or energy beams, but with reality itself becoming uncertain. The space around the Andromeda Junction starts to twist into impossible shapes as the Devourers attack the conceptual foundations of existence itself. Time flows in multiple directions simultaneously. Gravity becomes optional. And the very concept of matter and energy begins to break down. Chief Engineer Kim Mina coordinates the fleet's impossible weapon systems from a control room that exists. In 17 dimensions simultaneously, consciousness has merged with the technology itself, allowing her to operate weapons that fire probability and shields that exist in quantum superposition. Firing reality anchors, she announces, her voice carrying across dimensions. Target: the mathematical certainties that keep this region stable. Weapons don't fire projectiles or energy beams. Instead, they fire concentrated certainty, mathematical truths that the Devourers cannot erase. Each shot reinforces the fundamental laws of physics, creating stable islands of reality in the chaos of multidimensional combat. Dr. Choi Daeho provides strategic analysis from a position that exists outside normal time, his consciousness expanded, to perceive probability streams across all possible outcomes. He doesn't just predict enemy movements. He calculates them across multiple realities simultaneously. They're trying to solve the equation of our existence, he reports, his voice echoing from directions that don't exist. Every attack is an attempt to make the mathematical answer equal zero. The battle rages across dimensions that normal beings can't perceive. Defenders don't try to destroy the Devourers through superior firepower. Instead, they anchor reality itself against the enemy's attempts to unmake it. Captain Hannah coordinates the defense from multiple realities simultaneously, her consciousness helping to hold the mathematical foundations of existence stable. While her crews fight to protect the fundamental nature of reality. We're not winning through force, she realizes during the climactic moments of the battle. We're winning by refusing to let them erase us. Every time they try to unmake our existence, we choose to exist anyway. The turning point comes when the combined fleet manages to create a stable foundation in reality itself, a mathematical certainty that the Devourers cannot erase. With this anchor secure, the defenders can launch counterattacks that target the enemy's own conceptual existence. The battle ends not with explosions or surrender, but with the Devourers simply becoming absent, their mathematical basis for existence overwhelmed by the defenders' absolute refusal to be erased from reality. The silence that follows the battle is deafening. In the aftermath of the dimensional combat, the space around the Andromeda Junction feels hollow, as if reality itself is still recovering from the strain of multidimensional warfare. The eternal dawn drifts through this wounded space, its hull scarred by weapons that exist outside normal physics. Captain Lee Hannah stands on the bridge. But standing isn't quite accurate anymore. Her form flickers between states of matter and energy, her consciousness scattered across multiple realities simultaneously. She's trying to count the survivors. but the numbers keep changing as some defenders exist in dimensions that make traditional counting impossible. Fleet status report, she commands, her voice carrying harmonics that resonate through space-time itself. The response comes slowly, painfully. Of the 63 vessels that entered the battle, only 37 remain functional. The others weren't destroyed in any conventional sense. They simply exist in states that make them unavailable to normal reality. Their crews are scattered across dimensions, some dead, others transformed beyond any recognizable form. Lieutenant Kef's voice comes through the communication system, but it's not the same voice that spoke before the battle. His consciousness has expanded to perceive 17 different dimensions simultaneously, and his words carry the weight of experiences that no single mind should be able to contain. "Sir, we've lost contact with Squadron 7, he reports, his eyes now seeing across multiple realities at once. They're not dead, exactly. They exist in a state of quantum superposition between life and death. The strain of fighting in multiple dimensions simultaneously has left them suspended between existence and void. The medical bay of the Eternal Dawn tells the true story of their victory's cost. Beings who entered the battle as recognizable members of their species have been transformed into something between matter and energy. Their bodies unable to maintain coherent form after exposure to multidimensional combat. Dr. Yila, the brilliant Arcturian physicist who made the breakthrough in understanding the Devourer's nature, lies on a medical table that exists in several dimensions simultaneously. Her consciousness has expanded so far beyond her original form that she can barely communicate with beings who exist in only 3 dimensions. The mathematics, she whispers, her voice carrying equations that exist as physical forces. I can see the mathematical foundations of reality itself, but I can't. I can't remember what it was like to exist in only one dimension at a time. Navigator. Yoon Seojin's transformation is perhaps the most dramatic. Her original form has dissolved almost entirely, placed by a constellation of energy that exists across multiple realities simultaneously. She can still navigate impossible courses through space-time, but she can no longer touch physical objects or exist in the same reality as normal beings. "I'm everywhere and nowhere," she explains to Captain Hannah, her starlight form flickering. "With cosmic energy, I can perceive the entire galaxy simultaneously, but I can't remember what it felt like to exist in a single location. The price of seeing everything is being unable to truly be anywhere." Dr. Choi Daeho's condition is even more troubling. His consciousness exists across so many dimensions simultaneously that normal communication has become nearly impossible. He speaks in mathematical concepts that exist as physical forces, his words carrying meaning that can only be understood by beings who have undergone similar transformation. "The pattern," he says, his voice echoing from directions that don't exist. "I can see the pattern of their attacks across all possible realities, but every time I try to communicate what I've learned, the information exists in dimensions that others can't perceive." The transformation isn't limited to the human crew. Volunteers from dozens of species have been changed by their exposure to multidimensional combat. The Zolonian warriors who survived can no longer return to their homeworld because their expanded perception makes normal reality feel like a prison. The crystalline collective members have become pure energy that can barely maintain coherent thought. Chief Engineer Kim Mina works frantically to maintain the fleet's impossible technology, but her own transformation makes the task increasingly difficult. Her consciousness has merged so completely with the ship's systems that she can barely distinguish between her own thoughts and the vessel's operational parameters. "I'm losing myself," she admits to Captain Hannah during a brief moment of clarity. "Every time I interface with the multidimensional systems, a little more of who I was disappears. I'm becoming something that's more machine than human, more energy than matter." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, celebration mixes with horror as the news of the victory spreads. The Galactic Council declares a day of thanksgiving for the successful defense, but the festivities are muted by the growing realization of what their defenders have become. The transformation of the defenders has created a new class of beings that exist between realities, capable of protecting the galaxy but unable to truly be part of it. They become guardians who have sacrificed their own existence to preserve the existence of others. Captain Lee Hanna addresses the Galactic Council one final time. Her words carry the weight of terrible knowledge and the promise of darker battles to come. This was only the beginning, she warns, her voice resonating across dimensions. The Devourers will return in greater numbers, with new strategies and more powerful weapons. We've proven that they can be fought, but the cost of victory grows higher with each battle. She pauses, her form flickering between states of existence. The galaxy must choose, remain as you are, and face certain erasure, or evolve beyond recognition, and preserve the fundamental nature of reality itself. We've shown you what survival looks like. The question is whether you're willing to pay the price. The decision spreads across the galaxy like wildfire, but it's not the kind of fire that destroys. It's the fire of hope mixed with desperate determination. In the weeks following the battle at Andromeda Junction, volunteer centers open on every inhabited world. Beings from hundreds of species line up to undergo the transformation process, knowing full well that they may never be able to return to their original forms. On the industrial world of New Kepler, a massive facility processes volunteers around the clock. The transformation chambers exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their twisted architecture designed to safely expand consciousness beyond normal limits. Dr. Yila, her Arcturian form, now more energy than matter, oversees the process with the kind of precision that only comes from existing across multiple realities. The transformation isn't just physical, she explains to a group of nervous volunteers. You're choosing to become something that can perceive and fight threats that exist outside normal reality. Some of you will emerge as beings of pure energy. Others will exist in quantum superposition between life and death. All of you will be forever changed. The volunteers come from every corner of galactic civilization. Zilonian warriors stand alongside crystalline collective philosophers. Young scientists from a dozen different species wait beside veteran soldiers who have seen centuries of conventional warfare. They all understand the price, but they also understand the alternative. Complete erasure from existence itself. Lieutenant Keth, his own transformation now complete, helps train the new recruits. His 4 eyes can see across 17 dimensions simultaneously, and his consciousness exists in quantum entanglement with other transformed beings across the galaxy. The hardest part isn't learning to fight in multiple dimensions, he tells them. It's learning to think in ways that your original species never could. You'll perceive realities that others can't even imagine, but you'll also lose the ability to exist in the simple, three-dimensional world you came from. The Eternal Dawn has become something more than just a ship. It's now the center of a growing network of transformed beings who exist across multiple realities simultaneously. Captain Lee Hanna, her human form, now barely recognizable as such, serves as the first Guardian Prime, coordinating defenses across dimensions that conventional physics cannot describe. Her consciousness extends across the growing fleet of impossible vessels, each one crewed by beings who have chosen transformation over extinction. The ships themselves exist in quantum superposition, present in multiple realities while remaining anchored to the dimension that normal beings call home. Commander Park Jin-ho has become something between matter and energy, form adapted for combat across multiple dimensions simultaneously. He leads assault teams that can fight enemies existing partially outside normal space. His tactical genius enhanced by perception that extends across all possible realities. We're not soldiers anymore, he explains to the new recruits during combat training. We're guardians of mathematical certainties, defenders of the fundamental concepts that allow existence itself to function. Every battle we fight is a struggle to preserve the basic laws that keep reality stable. Chief Engineer Kim Mina oversees the creation of weapons and defenses that exist in quantum superposition. Her consciousness now merged so completely with the technology that she thinks in terms of mathematical possibilities rather than physical limitations. The weapons she designs don't fire energy or matter, but concentrated probability, targeting the conceptual foundations of enemy existence. Traditional engineering assumes that objects exist in single states. She tells her team of transformed technicians. We build devices that exist in all possible states simultaneously, choosing the most effective configuration based on the threats they encounter. Dr. Choi Dae-ho's transformation has progressed to the point where he exists primarily as a consciousness distributed across multiple dimensions. His strategic analysis comes from a perspective that encompasses all possible outcomes simultaneously. The Devours are preparing for their next assault, he reports during a strategy session that takes place across 17 different realities. They've learned from our victory at Andromeda Junction. They're adapting their tactics to counter our ability to anchor reality itself. Navigator Yoon Seo-jin has become something truly extraordinary, her essence distributed across space-time itself. She charts courses through dimensions that conventional physics cannot describe, plotting paths through realities that exist between the gaps in normal space. I can see their approach routes, she reports, her starlight form flickering across multiple dimensions. They're not coming through normal space this time. They're seeping through the foundational mathematics that underlie reality itself, attacking the concepts that allow existence to function. The Devourers have indeed learned from their defeat. They're massing beyond the galactic rim in numbers that dwarf their previous assault. Their forms now adapted to counter the Defender's ability to anchor reality, but the galaxy is no longer defenseless. The Guardian fleet has grown to over 300 vessels, each one crewed by beings who have chosen transformation over extinction. They exist in quantum superposition between their original forms and something entirely new. Guardians who have sacrificed their individual existence to preserve the existence of everything else. Captain Lee Hanna, now existing more as a mathematical concept than a physical being, dresses the assembled Guardians from a bridge that exists across multiple realities simultaneously. The Devourers believe that existence is a problem to be solved through elimination, Sfisa says, her voice carrying harmonics that resonate through space-time itself. They're wrong. Existence isn't a problem, it's a choice. We choose to exist, no matter what the cost. The lesson they've learned is fundamentally human in nature. Evolution isn't about becoming something better. It's about becoming whatever is necessary to protect what matters most. The galaxy now stands ready to face the darkness with defenders who have embraced that truth completely. As the Devourers begin their approach from beyond the rim, reality itself prepares for a battle that will determine whether existence continues or falls to the mathematical certainty of erasure.